Absolutely right.
It was a wave election and people were angry at the Republicans. And so they voted out Tom Craddock, who was a conservative and the first Republican
He was.
since the 19th century.
And Tom was very heavy-handed on how he was wanting to do things
Okay.
from
And
the
Joe
House.
Strauss isn't heavy-handed?
No, he has not been heavy-handed with me. He never once, the only time he asked me where I was going to be on a bill was on the water bill. And when I said I'm going to be for the water plan because I think infrastructure and water is important to my district, that was the only time I heard from him on that. Now, when I call Scott Turner up and say, Scott, I want to talk to you about what you're going to do policy-wise, and I don't get a call back for months, and I'm one of the 150 who get to vote on it, but he has time to go to districts, do fundraisers, do rallies, but he doesn't have time to talk to members about what his objective is. I said, what do you want to do different, Scott? Do you want to make sure that there's no Democrats as chairman? I had Tracy King, Democrat of Uvalde's, who was my chairman of Ag and Livestock, did a fantastic job and helped lead that committee fine. I mean, why? Because 90% of what we vote on is not partisan. And so I think we had a very good session on Ag and Livestock.
How many died?
And so I asked Scott, how many are you going to make sure that no Democrats are chairman?
Can we take
Tell me,
questions
please,
now?
tell me.
Will you answer questions now and just let people ask
I'm
you
finishing
questions?
talking about why that I don't think Scott is the right person. Because he won't call members back and tell them why he wants to do
So
something.
you said.
I've said, what are we going to do if I have a bill that comes down and it's in one of the committees and we don't vote on it because we think it's a bad bill, but you think that it's something that's important, are you going to come down and pull all of us off the committee and threaten us? And where are we at on this? And I can't get an answer.
Why do
And
we
so when
I have to have two special sessions?
I'm sorry?
Why do we have to have two special sessions?
We had 3 special sessions
Okay,
last time.
And why?
First is because a lot of people think that, Joe Strauss didn't let pro-life get out during regular session.
And that's true.
No, it is not. It's not true, Susan. And you know that we have a 2/3 rule in the Senate, and you could never get that through the Senate. So we could have spent weeks beating each other up and not addressing any of the other problems of the state of Texas, because if we passed it out of the House, it was going to die in the Senate. So we knew we had to have a special session coming back in. Why did the governor wait 14 days to put it on the call sheet? If he'd put it on day 1, we would have passed it in the first special session, and we all would have been able to come back home. And so that is the way the House and the Senate work down there. And I know a lot of people like to blame other people for other agenda items, but there was never going to happen. Anybody have another question they want to ask? You got another topic?
How many bills did you have that didn't make it to the floor for a vote?
Had a lot of bills that probably didn't make it through.
And you're not allowed.
I filed more bills than any other freshman
Right.
Republican.
How many bills?
And I got to tell you that I filed most of mine towards the end of the deadline. And the way the House, and I will got to tell you, one of the best things about the state is it is intended to make sure bills have a very difficult time getting passed. I went back and told the speaker after we were done with all the sessions, I said, if we could undo all the bills that were passed except for 10, 12, 8, whatever the number is, I think the state would have been better off than all the things that sometimes we pass. Because a lot of times they're putting more regulations. We made engineers do fingerprints. I don't agree with that. I think we fingerprint way too much in the state of Texas. We treat people, school teachers. Why do we make school teachers get a fingerprint and tell them we're going to treat you like you're a criminal before you've ever done anything wrong? If you do something wrong as a teacher, we have ways of finding out what it is and we can prosecute you. I don't think we should treat people like a criminal, and so I fought those kind of deals. So those kind of deals, I filed 6 bills that dealt with elections. And some of it is, it didn't pass through the committee, much less anything else. And the reason is because people weren't ready for a sweeping change that had never been discussed before coming out of a freshman in rural Texas that didn't go talk to the other 149 members about what my bill was about. My bill was to say I want to do away with May elections and move every election in the state of Texas to November. And you have 1 day a year you go vote, and if you believe in partisan politics, you can go vote in March in a primary. And I think it gets rid of some of this voter fatigue we have going on. you know what, I filed it last time, and it's back up again now. Now people are saying, hey, we think that thing may have some merit, let's go talk about it, and let's discuss it. Warren Chisholm out of the Panhandle, for 5 sessions, he filed marriages between a man and a woman. It took a long time to get that through to go build the votes.
Why?
Speaker Craddock has been trying for years to do his text message bill. And he's yet to get that through.
Because it dies in committee, or the calendars.
His died on the House floor.
But the calendars committee controls what comes to the floor for a
That's
vote.
correct.
Is that correct? Yes.
Calendars
And who controls the calendars committee?
Todd Hunter.
And who does he work for?
He works for the citizens of Corpus Christi. SG.
Excuse me, does not the fingerprinting purpose to do away with pedophile?
You know, we have other background checks we can run to figure out. I don't know if necessarily the fingerprints is the only way you're going to catch somebody who's becoming a teacher and being a pedophile from those type of
I mean,
deals.
all over the Facebook, we had incidents with teachers.
Well, and we did, I remember, you know, in the 80s, we had the same problem, pre-fingerprints. I don't know if there's any difference in the numbers that come through there.
That's what I was asking.
I work for a school district, we run a criminal histories through DPS.
Yeah.
And we have to do that in addition to the fingerprinting they have to
Yeah.
do to get their teaching certificate. So it's a
Yeah,
double.
so you're already
we're double
doing it.
dipping.
Yeah, and
That's
so,
what I was asking.
but the problem we have in rural Texas out here is, and you're better off here than we are when you start going further west of my district, is there's not an office in Cook County that's open 40 hours a week that you can go get your fingerprints done. Yeah, I mean, and, you know, it came to light because I had somebody teaching CHLs, and they had to go do fingerprints, and people would drive, you know, 90 miles, take off work to go get their fingerprints to a satellite office that was open 1 day a week. They'd get there, oh, we're closed this week, and then they have to go back.
And we would run into a frustration because the fingerprinting we do for education won't work for CHL.
That's right. And that was the other one. No, nor does it if you're a teacher if you're also a real estate agent.
Correct.
You gotta go do another set of them. You know, there's a problem. We single source bid that contract out, and there's one company that runs all the fingerprinting in the state of Texas. You know, there's a problem in the big cities, much less in rural, but it's definitely a problem in rural Texas. We tried to fix it last time with a bill that said that if you live more than 25 miles, that you could go do the old-fashioned ones, but it was only for the CHL. It didn't help the teachers out. So Larry Phillips out of Sherman, we're going to work on that again this session, see if we can get something done. Yes, Susan?
I, like everyone else in this room, is on your side. You're big conservative, you vote conservatively. But I don't understand why you want to make your job so hard by having Joe Strauss be Speaker of the House and preventing some of legislation that we want to see come to the floor for a vote from getting there.
Yeah.
Ken Paxton tried the same thing and was not successful, but
Right.
look at him. Now he's a terrific new Attorney General.
Yeah, we had Brian Hughes
and we had
and
Dan
David
Patrick.
Simpson last time.
Yes, and we have, what is the stranglehold that Joe Strauss has on you guys? Because you're making it harder for yourself, and now you're gonna make it harder for Governor Abbott and Attorney General Paxton and Dan Patrick to do their jobs, because Joe Strauss is the
Going from
one.
15 votes to, 16 votes if I voted, or 18 votes or we could get to 25 if we pulled all the conservatives that voted as sort of that block last year. Still doesn't get you anywhere near getting to 76 votes. I was not as upset on how I went in my first session thinking how bad things were going to be. That was not necessarily the case. There are other things that you can do that I didn't realize as a freshman from bills that I think I'm going to be more effective this time. We can keep changing everybody out we can term limit everybody every single time, and you will be run by the bureaucrats in the lobby. You can go talk to the folks in California that will tell you that that's the problem with
That's what you
with that
used on
deal.
me when I asked you why you voted against it, because of what California does. Texas is nothing like California. We don't want to be like California.
No, but you will
We
look like
wanna do the
California if you let the lobbyists and the bureaucrats.
I'm talking.
Okay.
We want to do the best of any state in this country. We want to be the best.
Right.
We don't copy California, my God, that's a disaster. Don't compare us to them. That's what you told me when you voted against term limits. You used California as your excuse. That's a terrible thing to use on a Texan.
You know,
Is that all you got?
You know,
Is that all you have?
There-
You voted against term limits because California voted for them or something? That's
and I've
it?
seen the results of other states.
Right, other
that-
states.
Other
Right.
states
Okay,
that
got
have
it.
done term limits.
I got it.
Scott Turner
You know,
gave
let me
everyone.
go, on term, I mean, the average term in the House is under 4 years. You know, of somebody who has actually served. I mean, there's not been the ability of not being able to vote people out. Vicky Truitt lost to Giovanni. She was a chairman. People lose from those. Jim Keffer was challenged, another chairman of Energy this last time. He barely hung on to his seat. And I mean, so people can run against and challenge and beat people, you know, from that sense. So that's the other thing. I think your term limits at the ballot box.
Yeah, we've heard it.
I agree.
Scott
Okay,
Turner
thank you.
has the same amount of experience that Joe Strauss did when he came in. And Joe Strauss gave a 10-day notice before he announced he was running against Tom Craddock as speaker. Whereas Scott Turner gave you 11 months. And
11 months and has never come to my district, has never sat down with me, never told me what he was going to do as a speaker, what different agenda items he would do. I hear it more from Matt Krause on TV shows than I do with talking. I had to go out and talk to 5,000 voters in this district over 25,000 square miles. There is only 150 of us. You would think somebody who was running 11 months would have time to come down and sit and visit with somebody, or call me and ask me to come down to Frisco and visit with him. I would have been happy to. I go through Dallas and Fort Worth enough, but I was never afforded that chance. It wasn't until Scott didn't return a call until some of the Tea Party activists out of Tarrant County started posting on my mother's Facebook page on my daughter's picture attacking me for voting for the speaker. And when I got upset about that, he finally did call back, only to talk about that issue. What other questions we got? Because I mean, I can tell from the, you know, and it's duly noted. And I understand I've had a couple handfuls of people throughout the district that think I ought to vote for Scott Turner over Speaker Strauss. And I understand that. I made my decision up on that based on what I saw firsthand in my first term down there working with both gentlemen, who I think that we will be able to work best for House District 68 and getting what we need done for our district.
I don't understand why you're so keen on having Democrats as chairman of committees.
What I said was,
How many
Scott
are-
hasn't told me what we would have.
No. How many Democrats are committee chairs?
I hadn't gone through and
Do
counted.
you have like
I'd
ballpark?
probably say we're probably a third and 2/3, and that's about the makeup of the House.
And do you think that's good?
You know, once again, there are so many committees that are not partisan committees that aren't state affairs that deal with abortion. Our head of state affairs is a Republican. And so Byron Cook is the chairman of that committee, and he is a Republican. That is where the most controversial items go through. Head of appropriations that sets everything from that standpoint was a Republican. Ways and Means that sets the taxing policy was all done by a Republican. Yes, I served with 2 Democratic chairmen in land and resource management, and we dealt with eminent domain issues. And I can tell you, we didn't have any issues that came up to where it was an R and a D type of deal. Same thing happened in ag and livestock. Now, the makeup of the committee was predominantly Republicans on both of those committees. So there's not a committee that wasn't all, didn't have a majority of Republicans in it.
But
So
we-
if the Democrats are trying to put a bad bill through, we've got the ability to kill it. I had to tell guys in ag and livestock that, guys, man, I love my farmers and ranchers, but I am not going to give you preferential treatment by 7% more price and give you a crutch where you can't compete in the free market. I'm just not going to do it, even though I'm pro-ag. And I made sure that bill didn't get out of committee. And so, we put an end to it.
But we know that Austin is blue, right?
Right, oh, there's no doubt. It's the blueberry and tomato soup.
Yeah. And Austin is where our seat of government is, and we're And we're always fighting the blue part of the state.
Yeah, there's 4 state representatives at Austin, 3 of them are Democrats, one of them's a Republican. And we deal with that, but, you know, I think, you know, we look at $1 billion tax credits that we did last session. Most of those go into small businesses. If we go back and look at the period that Strauss has been in, it's the least amount of growth in the state than has been under any other speaker, including Tom Craddock. We can go back and look at a whole lot of other things. Did we get everything that we wanted? No. That's why we don't meet for 2 years every 2 days every 140 years, which my wife would like it a lot better if we did that. Yes, sir.
Well, Drew, I'll say first, frequently, I'm pleased when you don't do nothing. A lot of people don't recognize that, but I am, and nationally. Here's a question that others in the room might be interested in. Do you know the relationship between a DAV license tag and a handicap tag? Does one trump the other?
I didn't think one trumped the other.
Huh?
I didn't think one did.
Well,
But I may not be up on my DMV rules.
please look into that,
Okay.
because there's a few veterans around still, hard hit,
Absolutely.
like me and others, and there's a few handicapped people
Mm-hmm.
around. I think what happens, and I don't know this
Yeah.
is true, I think what happens, if a DAV tag parks in a handicapped spot,
Mm-hmm.
I think the policeman just overlooks it and don't write a ticket.
Okay.
Because I don't think anything positive has ever been set up for a DAV. I hear people all the time saying we want to help veterans.
Mm-hmm.
Jump on that one.
Okay. We'll make sure we follow up on that.
Don't forget it.
No, that's why I looked at Jennifer back here to make sure Jennifer got that one.
No, I said I got it.
Yeah, no, we'll look at that. We've done, I mean, you know, we've got the Hazelwood Act and we've got several other things that we've done as a state to add in addition to thank our veterans from where the feds don't do as much as what we think that they should do in those. I know that there was a group looking at the VA hospitals. I can't tell you what has been done. I wasn't on that committee. Healthcare has never
I
been.
can tell you.
Yeah,
You know,
probably hadn't been near enough.
Well, no.
Sure you got your 7-minute warning.
All right, thank you.
They've got a ways to go.
Yeah, no,
They've
they're-
got a ways to go.
and it took them a while to get that messed up, and it will take them a while to uncoil that and get it back to where it should always
Of
be.
course,
I like the ideas that came up that sort of said, you know, why don't we just give a voucher to the vet and let him go to, you know, Gainesville Hospital if he wants to. I don't understand why that doesn't work, you know, to some degree.
well, I'm certain, I know in some of the other states, I don't know about Texas, but if the VA hospital can't do something for a veteran, it's just clear out, don't do it, don't have qualifications, whatever, don't have the equipment, they farm that out. And then reimburse, pay for the procedure or whatever it may be. I have friends that get farmed out in other states, and Arkansas for one, and of course, we got over in Sherman, we've got the VA clinic farmed out there. That's not true VA,
Yeah,
but
but are the services better than they
yeah,
were in
that's
the
right.
sort of
You don't have
standard
to
view?
drive- You don't have to drive all the way to Boston.
Yeah.
But
But,
anyway, I'm qualified for both the handicap flag and the DAV thing, and I have not been able to get anybody to answer me
Yeah.
on
why you need both.
Well, it's not a matter of what I need both. If I park with the DAV,
Yeah,
am I gonna get a $250 fine?
we'll figure that out. I think that that does need to be cleared up, but I tell you, there was something that came up on those handicap tags and of course, you know, my wife's in a wheelchair and has been for 25 years, and so she's got one because she doesn't like having it on her license plate because she thinks it makes her a target.
Yeah.
And so they've been talking about putting pictures on it, because part of the problem is, you know, we lost a bag at a football game here a month ago, and her handicap tag was in it because she was rode down with somebody else. I guarantee you that thing's traveling on the black market somewhere, because if you live in Fort Worth, you can take that and park for free downtown.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's in a handicap or not, you just go to park. And so we're trying to figure out, you know, how do you change that? How do you come up with those? And those are sometimes more the, you know, the issues we're trying to tackle and come up with solutions on.
Thank you.
No problem. But, yes, sir.
Can you tell me what's, with all the water issue, as far as the groundwater conservation district, is there anything, any laws that are, excuse me, bills being looked at to give the groundwater conservation district some teeth where the courts have taken it away?
I can't tell you that I know there's gonna be some, folks that are gonna be filing those. There will be people who will fight those, especially when it comes into the use of ag or traditional, what use has been. That's where a lot of those challenges have been in it. You know, water's gonna be one of these tougher ones coming through, because when you start running out, it doesn't quickly get priced to what the market should be to figure out who's in the business. But my biggest thing, and the reason I've always stood by the right of capture, is I get a guy in half of my district in West Texas, you know, if they pay $5,000 an acre for irrigated cotton land, and somebody wants to come and say, no, we're gonna stop you from being able to use that to irrigate your cotton, and now your land is worth $500 an acre, that is a taking. You have took what they had in that respect. Now, if the people in Lubbock want to value the water they buy that would come out of that cotton field at enough to say it's better for me not to grow my cotton and sell my water, then that's a different story. But that the market's going to fix. But it's difficult, because I had the conversation with the commissioner today, and I got guys out there in other towns, and we can say, well, look, you've got to do this, and your water bill is going to go up $10 a month. They go, man, nobody wants to pay that. Of course, nobody wants to pay that.
We kept hearing this.
But they all still had their iPhones walking around and everything
We
else.
kept hearing this when we actually started
Yeah.
charging groundwater conservation fees from the people growing grass, let's say.
Yeah.
You're gonna break us. Well, they
Yeah.
got $1 per acre foot of water.
Yeah.
364,000 gallons, they can dump it for $1.
Yeah.
You know, as a tax, which is, it
Yeah.
didn't break them, let's put it like
Yeah.
that.
No,
They
no.
didn't even have to increase their fees. My problem is have people serve on a board of directors to make decisions on this type of thing, and tell them you have to do this, and then when it comes down to.
You have no teeth to
having
make it
to have
happen.
back-
No,
You know.
I talked to Tracy Messler over in Dakota a whole bunch on these issues, and I realize it's a very difficult situation on how you do that. I think more along the lines are, we're gonna try to figure out how do we protect some of the other water resources we have, and how do we explore others. Brackish water is a prime example in that.
Big.
You know, if you got 2,000 parts per million, which some people actually drink, we shouldn't be using injection wells to poison that water to where we never can use again. And we've got to be able to figure out where is that threshold that you can intelligently use it. I was all for figuring out how do we incentivize people to start fracking with reuse water versus using fresh water. I talked to Marathon Oil, and this is almost a year and a half or so ago. 85% of the water they were using in the Eagle Ford was reuse water. I said, well, what do you have to do to get to 100%? She goes, well, we can't, because the landowners are forcing us to get the contract to do the oil, that we have to use their fresh water and pay them for that fresh water. You've got to make it more expensive to where they pay you less for that lease if you make that as part of the requirement on there from that, because you know the technology is right there. We're talking fractions of a cent difference on whether you use fresh or reuse water.
Right.
It's only 1.5% of the, or less than 1.5% of water usage is for fracking in the state of Texas.
Right.
That's all fine if everybody was in the same big puddle, but when you're in Montague County and 30% of the water usage in Montague County is for fracking, it's a whole different story in there. And the same goes for Wheeler County up in the Panhandle.
Well, I don't have a problem with them using the water, I have a problem with, which we're talking, reintroducing the water that's never gonna be used for anything
Yeah.
else into
No,
our.
no, that I do think that there's a lot of traction to be able to make sure we're protecting, because, you know, that Natural Resources Committee has really been looking at alternatives, and brackish water and desal plants is gonna be part of the solution going forward.
I hope you'll look at those items and back them as they,
Yeah.
as they see.
Absolutely. There was an interesting one last time, and here was a bill passed through the House, 147 to nothing, and dies in the Senate. And it was to be able to do a study of storing water underground in these empty caverns. And well, and what that means is, instead of building a new reservoir where 70% of the water use is evaporation, you store it underground on these storms, you catch it going over, pump it in, and you pump it back up. And those made sense. You know, Senator Estes goes, told Lyle Larson, the law must not have been a good bill, because we just didn't give it a hearing. So, you know, but it passes through the House, 147, and, you know, once again, it's, you know, our system of state government is set up to make it really hard to get things through.
Congress is smarter than the Senate.
Yeah, some things. But hopefully everybody knows how to get a hold of me. You got the Gainesville office here. Jennifer Vogel, District Director, office is here. She's here a lot more than I am. But we both run around a bunch. Feel free to give me a call anytime. We'll get you back. Shoot us an email if there's something else. But, you know, again, you know, should have started, but, you know, I work for everybody in this room. You know, and I treat it as an honor that y'all have elected me to this, but I represent y'all. I'm gonna do what I think is best and listen to y'all and do what I think is the best for the 22 counties I represent. And hopefully my voting record and things continue to prove that out. So, appreciate everybody coming out and look forward to seeing you again next time.
You made it to car.
Come get me so I can.